I'm George Levy. I'm speaking to you from the North American Bitcoin Conference, and right now I'm having the opportunity to interview Breaux, Senior Vice President Blockchain for Kochava, marketing analytics platform. And I've actually been hearing a lot about the work you're doing in blockchain. You're not traditionally a blockchain company. Tell me a little bit more about that.
No, we're in the marketing analytics market, and our job is really to measure people's return on advertising investment. So we're a measurement company. We already, in essence, run a private ledger. So for us to do blockchain, put it as an open source public ledger, is a real natural evolution of what we're doing today.
Okay, so let me ask you something. So, because the name Kochava is, you've been around, you have a lot of big name clients. So for example, how do people typically use Kochava?
We have clients such as Netflix or Disney, EA, ESPN. They use it, obviously they're investing heavily in mobile advertising. Okay. So they use our tools to really analyze the return on that advertising, which channels work, which strategies work, who's providing them value in terms of partners. And that's what our tools have done for the last 7 years.
So my question would be, when people typically think of blockchain, a lot of the terms that are thrown around, like people say, well, blockchain increases transparency, you can, it's immutable, it's permanent, you can avoid people tampering with data. Is this some of how you're doing this new vision with blockchain?
Yes, we are, but I think part of the misconception is that the rules cannot be changed or they can't be really customized for a certain industry. So we've taken a lot of the good things about blockchain and we've had to modify, obviously, some of its limitations because our industry relies on very high transaction speeds, volumes, and certain features and functionality that are specific to our industry. So we've built a lot of what are called sidechains to really be customized and we think optimized for our industry, balancing centralization, decentralization, those type of needs with the practical needs of our industry.
Okay, so you basically will have some sidechains running in parallel of, I understand you're actually going to run this on Ethereum, no?
Actually, we're not. We've built it all. We've built it all from basically scratch.
Interesting.
And we're borrowing great ideas and concepts from various projects, Hyperledger, Ethereum. But when we looked at those projects, we didn't see a single one that really fit the mold for our industry. Again, we're really trying to look at what's working today in the industry and what we think the optimal business process is, and then build something from scratch. So our consensus model, our proofs. We have what's called an ad serving miner, which allows anyone to serve an ad out there, which we think is really cool. It decentralizes things also. These are all new concepts, very specific to our industry.
Now, my question would be, how far along in that development curve are you? Is the blockchain product still not out, or is it?
Right, no, it'll be out at the end of this year. We've spent 2 years already working on it. Obviously, our industry and the technology in our industry is very complex by itself. You add that to blockchain and the complexity just gets, is very extensive. So the fact that it should take a few years to build this will not surprise anyone, either from the blockchain world or from the ad tech world. So end of this year is when our project will go live.
Interesting. Do you have any, and the key reason I say this is because once you launch this out, I'm sure you have to have some clients already lined up. Have you already discussed use case scenarios? Like, for example, if product goes out tomorrow, right? So how would this change how you currently do things right now? So how would applying this new blockchain layer change the fact of what you do at Kochava?
Right. I think the change would be more on our client side and our partner side, having to accelerate their own blockchain development. I think one of the things we're working hard on our own, and with the IAB, who is our industry association, I can't emphasize enough to people out there, if you're doing a blockchain project for an industry, you need to make sure the whole industry gets on board. If you have your own node and no one else, none of your trading partners connect to you, it doesn't help. So we've been active with the IAB, active with our partners, and really helping them to come up to our level, because we can't just build it ourselves. So I would say if you said we're live today, our work would be really on getting our partners up to speed in terms of having the technology, the personnel, they all need wallets. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built for them to use it. So that would be our catch up. Yeah.
The very interesting angle, and the reason I say, coming from the perspective of there's a lot of buzz around blockchain, and then a lot of the questions that get asked around is like, why wouldn't you just do that with a centralized database? Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, you've had a business that's been running for 7 years,
right? Yeah.
So you're very successful after 7 years. Why add this blockchain, right? And the key thing is like, what additional values do you get out of this blockchain new functionality versus what you had before?
Right. It's a great question. We're in the we're very humbling position that people do trust us. Netflix and Disney and McDonald's trust us with their data. So that we're really honored that they do. But there's a scalability issue there. Like if we're the central point there's only so much that can be done with that data, and the flexibility is limited because we're still in the middle. So although we're trusted, we think that's great. But if we have a bunch of decentralized nodes where two partners, whether it's Disney or ESPN or P&G, all these big players in digital advertising can go direct and or do trades amongst themselves in a decentralized way, it's much better than going through a central party, whether it's us or another provider in ad tech.
That's actually a very interesting angle.
The innovation part is what we're excited
about. When you
about.
put it in that context, now I get it. See, because in my mind I was thinking, okay, so you always have your Kochava, you're right at the center of it all, but what you're saying is you're decentralizing, you're basically flattening this whole thing on a blockchain, and people can self-service. The different partners will be able to access all this data from a lot of entry points, as opposed to just simply having to go through Kochava every single second.
Exactly, and we have this data collective, which is very close to like a blockchain where people contribute their data, different companies, sometimes competitors, contribute their data and then receive analytical insights from that. So it's sort of like that, but it's centralized, still coming through us, still has a limited power because of that centralized role. But we had an idea sort of similar to blockchain, and it's a collective data pool, which is sort of the precursor of what a blockchain could be. Decentralized pool, I guess.
And what I would think in that case, you'd have a distributed ledger and then cryptography, people will be able to access the data, and that's how you're able to shelter each different party. Like only certain people can access certain types of information, even though everybody's sharing the same ledger.
Exactly, and the trick is to make it also flexible and very business friendly while protecting it and making it, obviously everyone's data, and these are big companies, they're very sensitive to their data, but if I am Procter & Gamble and I want to have a business relationship with ESPN, for example, I want to make sure that we can do business very fluidly and scale it, but at the same time, I don't want a competitor, another party seeing what you and I are doing business-wise. So that's the challenge. It's not easy to do that.
Very interesting premise. Yeah. So how could people find out more about Kochava? If you could tell us a little bit more about your vision and what's going, how can people find out more?
Sure, yeah, or our company is called Kochava, Kochava. You can find out more information about Kochava at kochava.com. Our open source blockchain project is called Exchange, that's xchng.io. And we have a white paper there. If you just go on the website, give us your email, and I'll send you a copy of our white paper, and you can look at what we're doing. We're looking for a lot of partners in our own industry and advertising, because as I said, we need the entire industry to come onto blockchain. If we do a great job by ourselves, nobody cares, it doesn't happen. So we want everybody on board in our industry.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, bro.
Thank you, George.
You the absolute best.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For Bits Online, I'm George Levy. Thank you for watching.